many times have you seen Mischief? You lost count? Maybe 20? More than 20? Less than 20. Who can do... How many times have you seen Mischief?
Well, play that goes wrong around
30. Yeah. You've seen play that goes wrong 30 times? That's incredible. Can anybody beat that? No. Pardon you? Okay, cool, awesome. Fantastic. Well, that is very exciting. And who already knows they've got a question they want to ask tonight? Okay, awesome. Okay, wait, let's just hear a couple of them before these guys come out. Your question is?
In their creative process, do they just, like, when they kind of get a character, they go, right, let's see how complicated we can make this for this character?
Yes, throw in extra challenges, creative process, yes.
And what's their favourite show to perform out of the 5 or 6 that they've done?
Oh, such an unfair question, isn't it? That's unfair. Yes, good question, yes.
How does it feel seeing other people perform their work?
I've got that one on my list too. We've got it covered. Awesome.
So I was going to say, part of the genius of the show is an experience that everyone either has or can relate to. How much of this was personal? How did it change when they played the walls?
How did it change once they started playing it? And we'll have one more before we have the guys come out. Yep. Here.
I kind of want to ask them about how they feel the shift in tone and themes, and more traditional stuff coming from their purely comic stuff to this one.
Oh, because it's quite a departure, this one, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, somebody is behind these curtains.
We're behind.
Yes, come on.
Hello.
Awesome. Yeah, let's separate.
I'm part of the writing team now.
Okay, all right. Okay, let me introduce. Hello. Okay, I'm going to introduce people as we go along. You guys have got some serious fans in the audience tonight, so I am probably telling people things they already know. But let me introduce you. Clap at the end because we haven't got much time. Henry Lewis, Nancy Zammit. Have I pronounced that right? Nancy Zammit. Jonathan Sayer, Dave Hearn, and Charlie Russell. Hi. Thank you. Fantastic. Well done, you guys. Thank you so much. That was really... Oh, and more people.
And the
shield. Come next to me. Is that...
We have allocated seating.
Riley is not feeling very well at all. So
okay, right. Fantastic.
Shuffle up so we sort of even
Okay,
it
so
out.
we'll shuffle along. Fantastic, guys. Well done. That was so much fun. I have to say, I saw this Groan Ups for the first time last week, sitting front of house. And tonight, I've been with your understudies in the green room watching, which is really fun.
Are you playing a game with them?
Yeah, we played a lot of games. Really good.
Very good.
Okay, so Mischief Theatre, famously, you are a group of friends who first met at drama school at Lambda. Before we talk specifically about Grown Up Show, I wonder if we can just traipse through the history books. And who can tell me who met who first?
Well, that is a good question.
Who met who first?
Henry Lewis,
Dave?
Henry Lewis and Dave met each other first, and me and John met each other first, and Nancy and Shields met each other first.
Yeah, that's fun.
So and by the way, Henry and Henry and Henry and Jonathan are also the writers of Grown Ups and the Mischief shows. So and I think you three lived together at one point. Is that right?
We did.
Out of drama school, yeah. We lived together for, how long was it? For about a year?
A year and a half, 2 years.
It felt very long.
Felt very long.
It did to us as well.
Yeah.
But John and Hen lived together during drama school as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so me and John lived together for probably 3 or 4 years altogether.
Yeah, four,
So
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of people, when they're still studying, they're just trying to, pass their degree and do their course loads and everything. At what point, why did you guys think, let's actually form a company and start making work ourselves while we're still studying? How did that come about?
Well, I mean, I think, while we were at Lambda, it was very much because of our sort of love of comedy and also improvisation, which was a big thing that we studied at Lambda. We got together and we enjoyed it and we wanted to do some shows. So it started out in a sort of, just filling our spare time and doing shows. At the Edinburgh Festival we did quite a lot, about 8 years running. And that was something that we did because we really enjoyed it while we were still sort of training. It wasn't until after we sort of started to graduate from drama school that it became more of a full-time thing and we started to do more sort of scripted stuff. So that was the kind of the beginning of it. But generally, I think we've pursued it, you know, in terms of making our own work, because I think it's just a really, really amazing and satisfying thing to do. I think, you know, it can be really hard to be an actor. There's can be a lot of waiting by the phone and stuff, so it's really fun to sort of try and take things into your own hands. I'd encourage any actors to do that, to try and find a way of creating your own work and trying to do your own stuff. And at the beginning, we were kind of creating the whole shows from scratch ourselves. We were doing all the jobs, designing the set, making the flyers, doing the press, you know, all of those
My
things.
mum did a lot of painting.
She did.
Did you?
Sets.
And you also did the finances to start, didn't you, Nancy? Is that
I
right?
mean, very briefly and badly. So I wouldn't even count it as me doing any sort of.
There wasn't
It was
a lot
only
of
because
finance.
my name rhymed with it. It was because it was finance. So I was like, I'll do that. That's how serious that was.
But with the early work and through to this show, you know, watching you, it really does feel like that this work comes from a point of friendship. So 11 years on, when you started the company in 2008, is that still a core part of it, the friendship? And how important is it to the work now? Jonathan?
A nice example of that is I get married next week, and all the guys in my kind of groom's party and stuff. So yeah, it's like we're all really, really close. A lot of us hang out, we all hang out kind of outside of work. And I think that helps a lot because everything kind of bleeds into each other, and you kind of never know when you're in a creative session and when you're just kind of watching a movie or hanging out in a way. And I think that's important to our dynamic.
Dave, Charlie, do you want to add to that?
I agree. Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's it's interesting how much stuff that we kind of do, like John said, like socially, that then kind of sometimes appears in scripts, or like ideas are developed from kind of games we play, and a lot of stuff, it should be said, doesn't make it into the script because it's nonsense. But we have a lot of fun with each other. We make each other laugh a lot, and I think that means that, and particularly for these guys as well in this show, it's meant that we can be much more open and engaging with each other in a rehearsal process for a show like this, where people can tell stories that maybe they wouldn't tell in front of actors that they just met or people that they don't know so well.
Okay, I want to come back to that, but I also want to bring Henry, you in, and to talk specifically about the writing process, because the three of you are credited as co-writers, and I know you collaborate as well a lot with the wider company, but can you just kind of talk us through how three people together write a play, and does it vary dependent on the play?
No, it's pretty simple. I wish it was more interesting. What we do is we sit in a room, three of us, and one person sits at a computer and types, and the other two sort of knock ideas around, and that person who's typing joins in when they're not busy typing. And when that person's exhausted, we rotate who's typing. That's pretty much how we've always done it. We did try it differently with Comedy About Bank Robbery. Yeah. The only time we experimented with a different kind of writing, where we each took a scene and went away with it and wrote it independently, and then came back together and tried to see what we got. And it was awful. It didn't work at all. Because, as you'd expect, in writing a very tightly knit...
We were in different rooms, so we couldn't, we had no...
As you'd expect when writing a tightly knit farce, things have to link together, and it didn't. It was just three scenes that didn't work together at all.
Do you go away to do this? Do you have a retreat?
We had a writer's retreat last August, where we went to a nice house in... Where was that?
A sexy log cabin.
It was a very remote, empty place.
It was very remote. It was
so
too remote. When I was learned
remote.
this next time it would be less remote, because we could. There was no.
I think we came home like 2 days early.
It was a long drive to get any food. We were very isolated. We had a dog with us who didn't stop barking for 9 days.
It was like 6 miles to the shop, so it was, and like only Henry has. We can drive, but we shouldn't. So only Henry could drive. So you had to like go up and like, Henry, I've run out of food. Can you take me to the shop? And so it was a bit of a fuss, but it was very good. I tell you a thing that I think is really important about the writing process is we keep more or less office hours, which sounds a little bit buttoned up, but we kind of say, well, we do 10 till 6 or whatever, and we do that Monday to Friday. And then if we need to do more, we will. But I think that's really good, because I think it's really easy with creative things to just be like, well, I'm not feeling it today. I'll do it later. I'll wait for inspiration to strike. But actually, the best thing you can do is just kind of force yourself to just confront it and do it. And a joy of working as a three is, if I'm not feeling particularly inspired, I'm sure Henry will be, and vice versa. And I think that's a really, really important thing, because it just keeps you disciplined. And then when you get to redrafts and stuff, you know, the stuff that maybe was done on a Tuesday where you really had to just kind of get something on paper, you know, is easily kind of remedied and rewritten. But I think that's a really important thing.
So it's like any skill, you know, you can get into practice with it, and you can fall out of practice with it.
Amazing. So you've gone away, you've had your writer's retreat, then you've got a script. What then happens when you get people in the room and start playing it? Does it change much? Yes, you're nodding.
yeah.
We tear it apart. We go, that's awful. Change that. No, I mean, we develop it, usually the 6 of us initially, and then, I don't know, then you take it away, rewrite it again, and then it happens.
We don't have a strict process, but the way it generally goes is that we'll bring it to everyone, we'll do a read-through, we go away and do some rewrites, maybe do another read-through, another rewrite, depending on how far away from a polished product we are. And then we do a workshop on those things, which is a week or 2 weeks, where we get most of it, or 4 weeks sometimes, get most of it on its feet, usually get an audience in at the end, a friendly audience of people we know, to sit and watch it and give us a bit of a response. And then you rewrite, and then you rewrite, and then you finally open the show, and then you spend the preview period rewriting and rewriting and rewriting, and we're in tomorrow at 4 o'clock to do some rewrites on this.
So it's still changing,
Yeah.
this piece. So yes, you started performances on the 20th of September, I think. You had your press night last week, but you don't consider that means it's tinker-free now?
Not necessarily. I think, you know, it's only done when it's done, and I think we don't feel this is quite done yet. There's a few more particularly trims and cuts we want to make. It's a couple of bits where it's a little bit long, and so that's.
But that's extra incentive for your regulars here to keep coming back to see what's changed, right?
I think what's generally happened, sort of almost by accident, is that we get the first run at the shows, and luckily they've come back and been recast by other people. But we tend to try and keep it as a rule that once we leave, it stops being tinkered with, because it just gets too hard on casts to have to keep coming in for rewrites, and it's a really specific job to us, because we are really willing to come in all day every day and then perform all night every night, and I think that's a big ask for someone that you're employing to do that, and it's fine if it's on our heads, I think.
Wonderful.
So we tend to do that.
Well, that leads me to 2 of our pre-asked questions, which, first of all, with Groan Ups, because it is first question, it's quite a departure from some of the other shows you've done. Was that a conscious decision that you wanted to go in a new direction, and how do you feel about it?
I think it was to a degree, yeah. I mean, I think we wanted to still do a mischief show and still make it really fun and lively and energetic and a bit different and kind of nice and big and bold. But also, I think we were really keen to do something where we sort of made it character-led and driven with the characters. Obviously, with Goes Wrong shows, it's quite different. I mean, there's still very strong characters, but it's a different type of character. It's sort of clown, and it's the pressure of the audience is the thing, and this is obviously more fourth wall. And so, we wanted to tell a bit of the story, and that's kind of why we ended up doing something that is in the 3 parts, and there's a big time jump because you really get to see the development of characters, and it was quite a good. We thought it was a nice format to learn about how to develop characters.
And with the trajectory of the classmates that we see in this piece, they are landing at about where you guys are in your life right now.
Yeah.
It seems very personal. We can all relate to growing up and perhaps going back to reunion. One of the audience already asked, how much of yourselves did you put into the characters that you play here?
Fully all of myself.
Well, they were written before, obviously, by the 3 guys, and I think they took some inspirations from characters and people we sort of played, but as the development went on, I think all of us used our experiences to inform the development of the play and the characters. It's a little embarrassing, like the jokes I've had from friends of mine from school who've come to see it have said, how difficult is it to play yourself? Because I was quite a nerd and rule orientated, but thankfully I believe I'm not in quite the same situation she's in when she's 32. I'm hopefully a bit more honest with myself about what I want and what I want to do. But yeah, we all added bits of ourselves, but then maybe turned the volume up on different bits. And used maybe other people's experiences. Henry would tell a story, and I go, okay, well that's not mine, but it's still a useful one to put in the bank for Katie, for example.
Yeah. And Nancy, you mentioned that with the process that you're still working on it, but when you hand it off to future companies, That's the
I mean,
place.
it's not an official rule that we've ever spoken about. It just tends to be what kind of naturally happens.
Sure. But what the follow-on to that was someone over here was asking, how does that feel? Because you now have Mischief productions all over the world. I mean, I don't have you any idea how many actors are performing in Mischief shows right now?
Not off the top of my head, but
We could probably find out for you.
But how, so I suppose
give us half an hour.
but so the question is, how does that feel, knowing that you guys have originated these roles that are now being performed everywhere and making people all over
I
the
think
world
it
laugh?
slaps you in the face sometimes. It usually feels amazing, not in a negative way. It's really amazing watching people do your work. I remember the first time I think we ever saw it in a different language was when we were performing Play That Goes Wrong at the Duchess, and somebody sent around a YouTube video of the Italian version that was just being done. I don't even know who by. I can't remember, but they. It was just mind-boggling to think that they were like our costumes that we made up in the Old Red Lion, just like in a bigger space. But I was on holiday in Italy before this run, and I got off the plane and was in front of a Play That Goes Wrong Italy poster in Rome. And I was like, that you never get used to that. I don't think you can ever get used to that. That's absolutely mad. But it's so wonderful watching other people do your work. Like, it's just everyone that we've got doing our shows at the moment are amazing. Like, they're really fantastic.
I've done a few post shows recently with current companies at Play That Goes Wrong and Bank Robbery, and whenever I speak to other Mischief actors, they say how supportive you continue to be as the original company members, and how much they feel part of a family. You've created a family that.
I think that
stands
is a
alone.
really important thing, that people feel like they're coming into something that has a kind of feeling and an ethos and a philosophy to how it should work. I think that's why the shows remain, as well as the fact that there's fantastic associates and directors working on the shows. I think there's a kind of robust philosophy that you're coming into, and I think that really, really helps the shows when new cast members come into it, because it means that they know kind of what they're walking into, but it also allows them to flourish a lot. Just going back to the idea of just watching other shows and stuff, I've gone out to a few of the international shows now, I've seen a show in Moscow and in Budapest, and I think a thing that is really gratifying is that the people that you've never met, who are speaking a different language in a really phenomenally different culture sometimes, are having the exact same experiences as you had when you were putting on the show. I remember I met the guy who played Dennis, for example, and we could only speak via translator, and basically I said, "Oh, how do you enjoy playing Dennis?" And the translator translated, and basically it got back to me, and he said, "Oh, my hands are always sweaty, so the ink on my hands always washes off." And it's exactly the same problem I had, and it's just really funny that like little tiny nuanced things like that everyone's going through, and it's cool to just kind of know that everyone's had a similar rehearsal process, and it's nice. It's very nice.
Very good. Okay, I hope I covered a lot of the questions already asked, but who's got some more questions? Hands, please. Yes, lady in the pale, yes, you.
Me.
Yeah.
How do you look after yourselves? Because it's so incredibly physical, some of the other pieces, and Paul's chorus was incredibly physical in this one. But your voice comes out. How do you look after yourselves?
Yes, you put your body through a lot in all of your shows.
How do you porous every night?
I porous. I have to train for that. It was extensive training. Yeah. No, I've actually had 2 operations on my shoulders, so I've been through. Not because of the porous. No, I'd be rock hard if I was still in the show after 2 operations.
But because of shows you've had to have.
Not like
because you also were
existing.
the crocodile.
Yeah, crocodile. I play a lot of animals, and yeah, it takes its toll. I think we all get various different injuries from different shows, and different people have different traps that work for that they like and don't like. I mean, all of us will probably have a different version of the show than each other. I think we tend to. I think this is going to sound really cheesy, right? But we tend to make sure we look after each other rather than yourself. So you're often responsible for somebody else's safety, and so that's why when you're coming into these big physical shows, or the boys write a crazy stunt sequence, kind of goes back to what Nance was saying, is that the reason we kind of help create and develop is because we all come together and go, yeah, that's a batshit idea, let's do that, and let's just see if we can make that work, and hopefully we all trust each other more than strangers who had met for the first time.
And we get injured for each other before we pass it on to anyone.
Yeah.
And so in rehearsals, if anyone's doing something particularly dangerous, we make sure that it's always clear. And we've had all the kind of shitty injuries, and then we go, look, I've done that before, here's the safe version of it, just make sure you stick to that, and hopefully they don't get
There's an army of people who make it safe as well. There's John, who's the kind of head of health and safety across all the different Mischief shows, and there's different fight choreographers and movement coaches, and that's, you know, invaluable as well and stuff.
Found out the other day that
Voice, yeah.
cartoonist for The Guardian, Harry Venning, who has done the history of Mischief, which is in the programme, if you've seen it, he's now also going to do our health and safety guide for all shows, because people haven't been reading the health and safety guide. So the theory is, if it's cartoon, people will look at it. Which is great, isn't that good?
Well, and by the way, if you haven't got this program yet, the programs of Mischief shows are always such great fun. You get a lot out of them, including, yes, this incredible...
Fun fact about this programme is that all of the doodling in it is by all of us. When we were doing the TV show, I sat a book down in the green room and I made everyone write notes to each other in character. So all of that stuff that's in the programme is our downtime doing the Ghost Mom show.
Oh my goodness, you guys are very,
Bored?
very versatile. Very versatile. Yes, hand here, please.
Do any of you feel particularly precious about your own input to each show? Is there anything that you feel that you really want to push forward in the creating process?
You can't, like, I'm sure that we all do in some way, but you mustn't, because then it all falls apart. If anyone starts to have an individual agenda,
does anyone else?
I would say that there is. We're all on the same page. So what you're doing, we're all pushing for exactly the same stuff. But if one day you realise that something is falling by the wayside, then someone else in the group has got that. So if we're making sure that the female characters are interesting and strong and intelligent, or not, but like diverse and interesting, someone's got it. And it's not just the women. Like everyone in this company will go, oh wait a minute, are we making is that a really bad joke? Should we just check? And then, but then another day we're pushing something else, and we might forget another idea or another thought. Oh, is this physical enough? Is this fast enough? Is this a bit slow? So I think everyone is generally on the same page, and then we bring our own flair or our own preferences.
And all you can do at the end of the day is just sort of like offer your opinion. So there's lots of stuff I've been proved wrong time and time again. There's lots of stuff where I've gone to the three boys and just said, I don't think that joke's going to work. And then John will say, let's try it in front of an audience, and it gets a huge laugh. And you have to kind of concede that you were wrong. And so I think it's really important to offer those thoughts, but also don't expect them to be actioned. Understand that like people may say no to things as well.
It's really important. I mean, like we're meeting tomorrow to do these cuts, you know, and I think it's really important to not, because I think, you know, even if there's something you love, if it doesn't quite land, it's not quite working, you know, it doesn't help the show overall. And ultimately everybody wants the show to be as good as possible. I mean, there's a couple of jokes sort of in there that we sort of, I think there were ones during rehearsal that were just sort of, as a cast, kind of our sort of favourites, but there's just a couple of those happen to not have landed quite, and that always just can happen. But it's important to just.
Kirsty says a great thing. The director of the show, she's always like, guys, sometimes we've got to kill our babies.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do.
And that gives me a great opportunity to also say shout out to your creative team, Kirsty Patrick Ward, the director, Fly Davis, amazing set design. I love the oversized furniture. Roberto Ceracchi, is that right? The costumes.
He's done all the costumes for all the Mischief shows.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Yes.
I think he's probably the only creative we kept on throughout, apart from ourselves, obviously. The only person in the team we kept right from the beginning all the way through.
He's amazing.
So good.
He creates costumes. He should win awards for it, but he probably never will because they are so good for actors. So you're talking to him and you're like, oh, Roberto, I need to be pulled out the window and I need my pants to be on show, but I also need it to not go over my head because then my bra's on show and that's not what we want. And then I also do this thing where I need to go over there and I don't want the dress to rip. And he goes, right, we'll make it out of Lycra, we'll do this, we'll put these buttons on so that it can never go over your head. And he doesn't just make something so beautiful that none of us can move in and none of us are allowed to do the work. He facilitates the jokes. He makes them funnier because he gives us the right costume to do the joke in. Like the trousers, when Simon wets himself in the first act, got changed because you couldn't see the water. You couldn't see the P, right? So he changes it. He's so versatile. He's amazing.
That's amazing. That's a great endorsement of the importance of costume design. So I think we only, I'm afraid, have time for one more question. So who thinks they've got the best question?
3. We should do.
We should do quick first.
Should we hear them all, and then we'll try to do rapid fire. Yeah. This one?
All right. What's a question you would ask yourselves? No, sorry, not a question. What's a piece of advice you would give yourselves before, like, the grand success of the play that goes wrong in your early theatre making days?
Well, and I'm going to flip it to make it appropriate for Groan Ups, because I also think with this play, it's important to say, what would you tell your six-year-old or 14-year-old self, or indeed your drama school age self? One person who has a piece of advice. Henry.
Be yourself is the advice I would give, I think, and do, in terms of creatively, pursue what you think is interesting, what you think is good. There's tons of people around who'll tell you, this is what you should do, but do what you think is good.
I also think there's a great line in the play. It's a simple one, but it feels to me like it encapsulates what you guys are doing, which I do what I do because it makes me happy, which is great. Okay, who had it?
The middle guy was this.
Which one? Yes, here.
Who instigated the link with Penn and Teller for the future?
Well, we're going to come back to Magic Goes Wrong. Yep. Who was desperate? Pre-show rituals. Pre-show rituals.
We sacrifice a goat, but
If anyone has access to goats, do get in touch.
Running out.
Sure.
I have a personal. I have a personal one, which is my vocal warm up, which is something you should do as an actor anyway. But if it's also my time to go right. I'm not talking to my friend at lunch, or I'm not thinking about the film I watched. I'm like in the show. But then we have a group stuff.
Yeah, we all have. We stand in a circle. This sounds really cheesy, but we stand in a circle and we all make eye contact with everyone else. So it takes a few minutes, and then we do some breaths, and we just inhale all the tension and stuff, and sort of exhale everything that you were thinking, and just sort of center yourselves as a group. And then we usually go 3, 2, 1. And then something entertaining that's happened that day, like, I don't know, bumholes or whatever.
Usually something more.
That's happened before, I'm just
Very
saying.
entertaining day.
So true.
We did have an earlier question that we didn't ask, but I don't know if it's a very fair question. And somebody wanted to know if, of all the mischief shows you've originated, if you have a favourite.
Peter Pan.
Okay.
Big favourite.
I've got a favourite. Yeah, why not? Peter Pan's always my favourite, just because it's so fun and joyful.
And it's
silly.
coming back to Alexander Palace this Christmas.
Yeah, obviously.
It was always comedy about a bank robbery, but it might now be this. They vie.
Good.
They have hearts.
Bank robbery for me.
Bank robbery, Jonathan.
Oh, it's difficult. We'll probably play in a way because that kind of started this just huge change in our lives, and I think it's just such a you can't have done over 1,000 shows of something if you don't really enjoy doing it.
I can't pick.
You can't.
That's
pick.
like choosing a favourite child. You can't do it.
And Henry.
no, I love them all. I love them all for different reasons, but I'm very excited about doing magic. That'd be fun.
So, very nice segue, thank you. So who, finally we will wind up by saying, how did the Penn and Teller Association come about?
They're personal fans of me.
Well, they also sacrifice goats, and so we're going to...
Same supplier.
So they came to see Play That Goes Wrong when they were doing some shows at the House of Apollo a year or two ago. We were in New York doing Play That Goes Wrong at the time, but they met up with our producer here, and they said they really enjoyed the show, and they said, well, would you like to come to Vegas for pancakes? And we said, well, you can't say no to that, can you? So you've got to go to Vegas for pancakes. So we did, and they said, well, should we do a show together? And we said, well, that would be lovely. And then we went back out a couple of months later to start writing it. And that was kind of the beginning of the whole thing.
Now, should I believe the cartoon here that says you have done a show called Magic before?
Yes.
So that was one I hadn't known about.
That was
So this is not an early version.
That was before the
Magic was
Goes
the
Wrong.
first ever Goes Wrong show, yeah.
At the Edinburgh Fringe 2011, I think. Yeah.
Incredible. Okay, so several people here have already booked tickets for Magic Goes Wrong, but who, to persuade everyone else that they need to book immediately, who's going to give me the best elevator pitch for Magic Goes
give you a quick elevator pitch. It's very, very funny. I think it's possibly got more jokes in than any show we've ever written, but as well, it will make you gasp and think, how on earth have they done that? Because it doesn't just go wrong, sometimes it goes very magical.
The magic is really good.
Magic is really
Yeah,
good.
it's really
And,
Okay, so you're going to come back to see that, yes. You have now until the 1st of December to see Groan Ups. So audience, you are now our champions. I know you were big Mischief Theatre champions already, but you are now also officially champions for Groan Ups. So I want you to go out, please, and tell everyone, spread the word on social media. Once we thank these guys, I wonder if we can get a group shot. And those people who are on social media, will you take a photo and share it on every channel that you're on? Will you do that? Are people nodding? Yes. And what else do I have to say? Oh, yes, and also the understudies on this show are so fun. They are, some of them are performing next week. This weekend, so come back and see Crystal and Paul and George and Holly. They're fantastic.
They're amazing.
Many reasons to come back to see Groan Ups by the 1st of December.
And thank you, Terri Paddock.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. And thank you to Henry and Nancy and Jonathan and Dave and Charlotte and Henry. Thank you.